Welcome to the Bear Cave, a podcast about the intersection of poetry, queerness, and politics. I'm Cal Adams, a fat, hairy, trans, pansexual man.
And I'm James Barrett Roadhaver, but folks call me Bear. I'm a bisexual cis man.
Make sure that you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and wherever you get your podcast from.
And thanks for listening.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of the Bear Cave. Woo! We are so excited to be here with you today. Our recording date right now is August 3rd, 2024, and you'll be hearing this on August 15th, 2024 for the first time, hopefully, or sometime thereafter. And this is an introductory episode. We just want to kind of explain to you who we are and why we're doing this and what this is going to be about and kind of how things are going to go. So, without further ado, I'm Cal, and my pronouns are he and they. And I'm a pre op transgender man in my late 30s, living out and proud in Northwest Florida in the Panhandle. And sometimes we call that Lower Alabama. Sometimes we call it the Redneck Riviera. And just FYI, I am pro redneck. Okay, so that's not a dig. That is we're gonna get into that in probably later podcasts. I have very strong feelings about the word redneck, so we're gonna talk about that. But I love it here. I was born and raised in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, and I grew up around the Destin, Fort Walton Beach area, and I currently live in northern Okaloosa County in Florida. And people hear a lot about Florida, but not about our part of Florida. So we wanted to get a little bit of representation going on here. Um, and that's part of the reason why we're doing this. But, I love this place. I do. I have not always loved this place, though. When I was 23, I hated it so much here that I married a guy in the military just so that I can escape this area with my two small children who are grown now. I stayed away for 17 years because of the familial and religious and political trauma that I suffered in this area and that I have watched others suffer. And my two kids, as I said, are adults now, and they both actually came out as transgender before I did. I like to say that I am the tree that those apples fell from. That's kind of how that process came to my understanding very slowly after they came out. But they do. They have very vibrant lives up in Seattle, where I have been for the last 7 years until I moved back down here in October of last year. And so they decided to stay up there with their people, and I came back down here to help family. So we all lived in Virginia and then southern Turkey and eastern Washington and then Seattle finally before I came back last October to help my family out. And so this is my second podcast. My first one was, a little bit short-lived and mildly successful, but we put it to bed. It was with my partner, my ex-partner now, and we had a great time doing it, but we just didn't want to. We didn't want to keep that going, so we took it down. But I probably will be resurrecting that at some point in the coming months, as soon as I have a little bit of extra time. Haha. So that was a podcast about politics and political undertones in our pop culture, the stuff that we consume all the time. And it was very well received, and I would very much like to do that again. So be on the lookout for that at some point. Um, in my day job, I am an IT FEC compliance specialist. I work for a software company that makes, you know, accounting software for political campaigns, and so I do a lot of kind of weird stuff there. But I have a background in IT security and privacy and accessibility compliance, as well as social services. I was a firefighter, both wildland and structured firefighter, for a few years there, and I love that. And I was also, I did everything in the service industry, from dishwasher all the way up to manager for approximately 10 years. So I've got a very um, dynamic background, we'll say. And so I bring all of that experience with me. And in my non-working time right now, I'm on the leadership committee with my local PFLAG chapter. And if you don't know what PFLAG is, please go look it up. It's a queer support group. It's one of the oldest in the country, and they do a lot of good. And I actually didn't know that they existed until I moved down here and found that I needed one. So you should look it up if that applies to you. I'm also the secretary of the board at my local Unitarian Universalist church, and I'm the director of the Gulf Coast Pride Choir. I have been an active member in the local kink community for the last about 10 years, not here, elsewhere, but that stays with you, you know. Um, and just so we're clear, I don't speak for any of those communities, any of those organizations in this podcast. I am speaking directly from my heart and my brain, and my words are my own. And let's see, I was very active in local resistance politics when I lived in Seattle. When I came back here to DeSantis land, to help my family out, I wanted to spread what I had learned to help others who were here because I had been watching from afar. And just like in horror, after Governor DeSantis took over, and my, things had been kind of on a little bit of an upward trajectory until then, and then everything kind of crashed down to the ground, and all of the bigoted cockroaches kind of crawled out from under the rocks that they had been hiding under. So I came back here, and I wanted to help. I wanted to spread the knowledge that I had gained fighting the fights that I had been fighting up there in Seattle and other places that I had been. And the people here are scrappy. They are scrappy, gay, and they are ready to do something about what is going on. And we have that in common. And the people are like, they understand what freedom is and what it is to lose your freedom. Because it's a reality here for the people in Northwest Florida and Florida, generally. And um, so the tone is a little bit different. The people are hungry for solutions. They want to do something. They want to act, but they don't know how. In this section of the country, we have always just, and I experienced this growing up, we've always just watched from the sidelines, and all of the really important political stuff happens elsewhere. But that's not really true. This is the area that, uh, you know, lots of stuff happened during the civil rights era and afterwards. And I want to bring back some of that energy, and I've seen a really great change just since I've been here, since October. And I'm incredibly proud of the people who are here, who have been fighting the good fight, and who are, seeing the tools that I've laid down, and, the learning the ways to find new tools. Um, and just picking them up and running with them. And we're a wonderful little pocket of like hotbed of activism here, and it's growing and it's getting bigger, and I can't wait to see what that looks like going forward. And I had kind of set down poetry for a long time. I did it when I was really hurt before, and I haven't done it again in like 8 years until very recent few months back. And I started writing again. I started going to open mics, and I met a lot of wonderful people, and my creativity has really started flowing, and I am back into it again, like with a vengeance. And so that's how I met Bear. And he'll talk about that a little bit more. But when I left Seattle, my friends were panicking. They were absolutely panicking that I was moving down here to Florida because folks who aren't in the South, who have not spent a lot of time here, don't know what it's like. They just see what they see on the news. And so my friends they were so worried about me coming back here. I was told that it was a suicide mission. They begged me not to leave. I lost friends who I had for years and years, been through so much with. Just simply because I asked them for solidarity, to show solidarity with the folks who are fighting down here and who deserve that solidarity. And they deserve to be here. Like I hear a lot of comments about we should just like wipe the South off the map. Why can't we just let Florida and Texas secede or whatever? But the people here are, for the vast majority of them, not like the people in our government. We are not a crazy conservative Christian, section of the country. That's just the most active people in our government. And so I want to try and showcase that a little bit more. There are so many more of us who are radical, who are revolutionaries, and who are here to fight. And um, there are a lot more sympathizers who aren't quite ready to fight, but like there are a lot of people who are on our side down here, and they deserve to exist, and they deserve to exist in freedom. And so we want to bring some of that energy here. So I'll turn that over to you.
Howdy, folks. My name is James Barrett Roadhaver, but since birth I have been called Bear, and that's what I go by. I am a disabled, bisexual, 40-year-old, 41-year-old white cis male poet and performer. I have been married to my very gay husband, Randy, for 12 years, and we have three lovely and very sweet fur babies together.
You saw
Uh,
Chico in our intro if you're watching with us
that's
on
right.
YouTube.
That's right. That's our mascots right there. I will say that Randy and I have an unofficially adopted son named Caleb with a K, who is a 21-year-old college student up in Nebraska. He is trans and autistic, and we love and miss him very much. I was born in Birmingham, Alabama in 1982 and raised in many different small towns in the general central Alabama, Shelby County area. So those of you from there, I'm a Shelbyite. My hometown and the place that I am most familiar with and have a lot of experience is Columbiana, Alabama. I was raised by an abusive mother who struggles with addiction, and I'm still in the healing process from my trauma with the help of my therapist, who is amazing. I was abused horribly by my mother and a bunch of other men for the better part of 30 years. On top of all that, I was born disabled, like I said, and my life has been a constant fight for survival since the moment I took my first breath, which was actually a growl thanks to fluid in the lungs. So, another reason you could call me Bear. I've been in and out of hospitals all my life, countless times, and I've faced death. I've been in a coma that they induced as a baby. In fact, I have bed sore scars from that coma.
Yeah.
I've had multiple surgeries all my life. Right now, the count stands at 14 and will increase next month. Um, and that'll be another part of the oral surgery journey that I'm on right now. I have severe osteoporosis, panhypopituitarism, costochondritis, cerebral palsy, heart disease, neuropathy, host of other health conditions and maladies that I have to deal with on a daily basis. I've used leg braces and canes and walkers and wheelchairs and power chairs all throughout my journey. And I'm happy to still be here and be in the fight. I've been a poet from the age of 7, and I've left my mark on several poetry communities, and I'm proud to say, especially the Montevallo slam scene in the early aughts, the DFW area when I lived there from 2012 to 2022 in that decade. And now the Pensacola open mic scene, not to mention a few surrounding open mics that I'm happy to be a part of and really share my gift with, and also listen to the whatever else everyone else brings to the table. I support my community. So my poetic style is emotional, it's gritty, it's experimental, it's uncensored and unflinching, and it's constantly evolving. My favorite poet is Walt Whitman, who was a queer poet who worked as a Civil War nurse and just happened to invent free verse. I came out as bisexual at the age of 21. I'm a late bloomer. And I have many queer people that I call family and friends and that I would absolutely lay my life down for. And I'm just thrilled to be part of this podcast with Cal.
Yeah. So that's us. That's who we are. And so, Bear, how did we meet?
So we met at an open mic up in Valparaiso called TV Dinner Theater, hosted by Lauren Boyer, who,
Yes.
by the way, we did an episode with him as our first guest.
So look out for that very soon.
Yes. We both appreciated what the other brought to the table. Cal sang, and I did some poetry. And I think I hosted a party maybe a month later that Cal came to with a bunch of other poet buddies of mine. And, we just sort of hit it off after that. And he's been a friend and a brother to me as well as a mentor. Um, my politics are changing. I was a liberal for a good bit of my life, and I'm always trying to evolve myself because there were times I was a little bit conservative, but not as much as my family. And I always wanted to be different. I knew I was different. I was the black sheep. So
Yes, me too.
yeah. Black sheep's rule.
Yeah.
So I've been on the cusp of the decision to become a leftist for 2 years as I consumed leftist content on TikTok and YouTube and things that I read. And meeting Cal has really helped me because he's educated me a lot more. I'm learning stuff from him every day, and he's really the one who pushed me over the edge to decide that yes, this is where I want to be, and I can no longer, in good conscience, be a liberal when that's incongruous with being anti-capitalist, which I am a rabid anti-capitalist.
Which we appreciate. And if you do identify as a liberal or somewhere,
We
between,
love you.
we do. This is not going to be a liberal bashing podcast. I know that there's a lot of that out there, and for those that who do come from a further left background, I personally identify as like an anarcho-communist kind of, somewhere around there, and I, we really all need to start speaking to each other in a, like we need to be bringing people into the fold. We need to be seeking people who are ready to be educated and who want to learn. And, I was a liberal. I identified as a liberal growing up. I was one of the rare uh, kids that grew up in a Democratic family here in Northwest Florida, and I like that was just what I grew up in. And as far as I knew, that was as far left as it got. Like that was as far to the radical, as it got. As soon as I learned more, I kept pushing that envelope further and further. Um, as 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 I learn, my identity grows a little bit more all the time still, and we're all learning. We're all um, I consider myself a consummate lifelong learner. And my politics are where they are right now, but I want very much to expand my knowledge too. So it's been a real pleasure getting to share my knowledge with Bear, and I've done that with other people as well throughout my life. I am by no means, I'm not like a political analyst or anything. I just have a lot of lived experience, and I listen to the people in my community, and I want to lift up voices of the other marginalized communities that I am not a part of. And I've had the extreme pleasure to organize with places and times in my life, and I learned a lot. And I just want to pass that on to everyone that I meet and give them the opportunity to be a good ally. You know, so that's that. But we came to this decision to have a podcast. Because I had done a podcast before, and I think Bear had just mentioned that you wanted to do a podcast on poetry, and I was like, yeah, let's do
Yeah, and we wanted to bring the combined expertise that we have together for this project.
it.
And something funny I want to note is that in my notes here for today's podcast, so like I said, Cal is the one who sort of helped push me over the tipping point of deciding, am I a leftist? And the other thing was, and here in my notes it says, gestures wildly at everything burning. And it's just so true. And I feel like there's so many communities that are hurting right now that I feel like would be invigorated and inspired by this podcast. In fact, I posted on Nextdoor of all places about this podcast, and I was expecting a lot of vitriol from a lot of conservatives. I got three reactions, and they were all positive because I think this is something that maybe more
Oh,
people,
damn.
I think, are
I didn't know that.
are
That's
yeah are
great.
hungering for. And
Yeah.
I was like, as long as they can't look up my address, but I want them to know about the podcast.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited to do this podcast with Cal, and we're both proud leftists, and we're still educating ourselves. We brainstormed on the name, and we settled on calling our podcast the Bear Cave because, for one thing, I've been called Bear. Like I said, that's my nickname since birth. And the Bear Cave, that's what I call my house. And I tell people who enter it, I'm like, you're under the sign of there's a bear hanging over my door. So I'm like, you're under the sign of the bear now. You're under my protection. Nobody's going to hurt you here.
Hmm.
And
It's true. That's the first time I walked in for that party that he was talking about.
yeah,
He's like, "Welcome to the Bear Cave, everybody," and I was like, "I am amongst my people."
yeah, we protect us.
Yeah,
And
it's a stuffed bear head, like a stuffed. It's not like a real bear head. But,
yeah, it is. It is. I had to cut the little piece of holly, plastic holly off of it because it was originally a Christmas decoration. But you know, what was I going to say? So that's why we named it the Bear Cave, and then the tagline under that is Queer Poetics for Revolutionaries. We're going to be talking about queer poetics and leftist and revolutionary politics and how those things intersect, and some famous people that have been queer poets and the things that they have had to face. There's a lot of things that we're fighting. Um, by the way, the other reason that we named it the Bear Cave is that Cal is a vibrant part of several queer communities, not least of all being a member of the bear community. Isn't that right?
yes, I am.
Yeah. So we're queer poets and we're ready to dive into what that means. And we're just ready to really get into the fight for the cause. Um, and so, what do we mean by when we say revolutionaries? Who fits that description? And a better question still, whose revolution? A revolutionary is someone who sees the corruption, greed, and cruelty of powerful entities going on around them every day, hurting real people and damaging a beautiful planet, and decides that they need to act. They see that no matter what propaganda or lies that these entities spread, the truth is they only care about profit, not you or I or this planet. That's a revolutionary thought, and it's most well defined politically by leftism, but there is a lot you can do as a liberal. While I'm still learning about what a leftist means, what being a leftist means, and I'm still continuing my education, I'm reading a lot of books right now. I've checked out a lot of books from the library. And as I'm transitioning into this new political identity, I want to define these destructive entities specifically that are harming our communities. First of all, I think a lot of us can agree that the two main parties are corrupt. Their goals align with capitalism being a mainstay. And capitalism is a system that values profit over human life, over people. and it must be defeated along with things like Christofascism, fundamentalism, white supremacy, heteronormativity, racism, and bigotry, not to mention the prison industrial complex and other such carceral systems.
Mhm.
This is the enemy. This is why we need revolutionaries. So if you're ready to fight these entities, as you know the damage they've done to minority communities and to the earth, then join us as we talk about being queer poets and leftists and keep you informed about what's going on at the front lines of this fight locally and around the world. And we'll do that with a segment in every single episode called Notes from the Resistance. So let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And just remember that you are not immune to propaganda. None of us are. And always be ready to look inward. And the revolution starts at home is a common refrain among leftists. And like we use the term that leftists very loosely. There are lots of different ideologies that fall under the big umbrella of leftism. And all are welcome here. We're all here to have conversation and keep moving forward and keep the revolution rolling.
Yeah, they're all valid.
Yeah. And so we're all here to fight authoritarianism. We're all here to fight, as Bear was saying, carceral system. And this is just a place to learn about that and from a Southern perspective. Bear grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, as you mentioned, and I grew up here and, lived in Texas. And I've been kind of all over the place. And there's just not a lot of radical representation from our part of the world. And so we wanted to be part of that and to kind of give you that perspective and to showcase some of the really awesome people who are doing the work here. Because there are so many people here in the greater Pensacola area, between Destin and Panama City Beach
Yeah.
in Florida and over to Mobile, like on up through Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Georgia. Like, shout out to all y'all who are doing the work. We'll
Yes.
be highlighting various people who are, currently doing the work, people throughout history, especially from our region, who have done the work and talking about the history of how we got to where we are. Because I think that there's a big disconnect in our particular area from our past, beyond when colonialism started here. And we really, and then, also kind of whitewashing going on about our past. There's been, especially with what's been happening with the history books and school books in the last few years, and just the weird stuff that they've taken out of there. Like we're not allowed to talk about slavery you know, uh, in a certain light in schools in Florida now, thanks to and all of your little cronies there. And we just, it's really important to connect with the history of wherever you are. And that being said, just want to acknowledge that we are coming to you from the historic lands of the Muscogee people. And they were runoff, most of them, the vast majority of them, most of them live in Oklahoma and as they're around that area now. But this is still their land. And it, we need to bring that back. We need to start talking about that and having these conversations about where we came from and how we got to here. And so we'll be doing a lot of that here as well.
That's right. One thing I want to touch on more deeply is it's very important to be a part. Poets, you're going to love this podcast, and this is for you. And even if you don't lean our way, you're going to get a lot of great poetic experiences and poetry from here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so important to be part of a local poetry scene. being in local poetry scenes in Alabama, like I said, in the DFW area, specifically Dallas and Pensacola here, is very important to me. And it's been so one of those things that has enriched my life is, being able to support my friends as they continue their journey in being an artist or being a poet. And we challenge each other and we support each other. And it's just, there's so many great venues out there that are the perfect place for um, our open mics, and I think our open mics are very sacred. Um, and I just want you guys, I want to emphasize the importance of these spaces because these community spaces, most of the time, they're very open minded and welcoming to everyone, but at the same time, they're protective of certain members in the community who are at risk or are very young or who, just people that have been hurt, like we said, by these systems or by people who support these systems. And so, like I said, we protect us. And one of the things being a poet has always meant to me is finding community, and I'm great at networking, and it's been one of my gifts and one of my pleasures to find so many people in my walk of life who, even if they're not poets and even if they don't write, they come and they read our stuff and they support, and we just all love on each other very much. We're very tight knit here, and the Dallas scene. You could go to any open mic in the DFW area, and ask them who Bear is, and they'll tell you, because I was active in so many open mics that I love that I won't list here because it would take a while.
Well,
But
speaking of which, that's where we got our music from, right?
oh man,
Why don't you tell us about it and tell the people at home about how that happened.
yeah. So we have a team member, Court Huang, who is a very talented Vietnamese American musician, singer, songwriter, and father of 3. Good friend of mine from Fort Worth. And I met Court when I was living in Dallas. And I ran an open mic for a short time that he played music at. And I would also support his music and go and see him live, and he's just such a great guy. There was a month where I had a second hip surgery, and Randy had to be there for the entire month because it was I was just in such a critical state, and Randy lost about $1,700 in income not being able to go to work that month. And Court hosted a Facebook Live video um, playing a lot of his songs and dedicated it to me, and all the proceeds went to me and my family, and I'll be forever indebted to Court and his family for their kindness. And this is what I talk about when I say that the community looks out for each other. If one of us is in trouble, we're all going to jump in. And we're just so proud to have Court Huang in our team. When we started talking about who do we want for the music, as far as making the music for our podcast, the intro music, and little things in between. Court's a multi instrumentalist, and he's
Incredibly
he's
talented.
incredibly. I think
Go
he's a
listen to him on Spotify right
yes,
now. Go follow him on TikTok and on like Facebook and
yeah.
wherever else he is, and just like lift him. I just want to lift up this guy so much
Yeah,
because
he's a virtuoso.
yeah.
So that's COURTHOANG. You'll find him on Spotify. He's also on YouTube. He does guided meditations recently.
Which are so nice. They're just, I love like coming across those on TikTok and just like it's just a nice little moment of
He
it's so
says some
soothing.
really like beautiful and calming and positive affirmations while he plays his music. And he's just so in control of the room.
Mhm.
And I just immediately knew who to go to when we needed music for our podcast. And I was like, I know he's not local like the rest of our team is, but he's an integral part of this team.
But that's okay because reaching across communities and keeping those connections after we leave certain communities, like that is really important. It's an important part of the resistance,
Yeah,
is keeping those connections and working with people and keeping things alive. You know, the more that we depend on each other, the less we have to depend on the systems above our heads, and maybe eventually we'll be able to leave them behind.
that's right. Cal, why don't you tell folks about our fourth member of our podcast team?
Yeah, so Ryan Goble
Yeah.
is our fourth member, and every once in a while, about once every 3 episodes or so, we'll be having a recap with Ryan,
Yes.
and where we'll go over the last few guests that we have had on the show, and we'll just do a little recap, kind of a retrospective on what we learned from them and tying everything together. Ryan will be the that rug that ties the room together, man. And Ryan, in her own right, is an excellent poet and just an amazing artist in general.
Right.
Like also multimedia artist, makes beautiful things. Just
She crochets, she draws, she sews, she does it all, and
mhm,
she does it all beautifully and with so much quality and passion.
mhm.
And
And a gifted poet.
it's very inspiring.
Yeah.
She's one of my all-time favorite people to bounce ideas off of. And I'm just so glad that she's on the team. She's Destin based, and I was happy to meet her at TV Dinner Theater as
Yeah,
well. By the way, that place is just a hotbed of great activity locally in that community, but also us as Scambians come up there and enjoy.
that's
Reading
Escambia
that.
County, Florida,
Yeah,
for the folks at home, Pensacola, the county containing. And we, like, I don't know, let's see. So we're gonna have Will on.
yeah,
We've
yeah,
got Lauren. We're gonna have an episode with just Ryan to talk
that's
about
right.
poetry and community.
Yeah,
Probably next, I think.
let's see.
Um, and
Carol?
and Terrell Caver,
Carol.
is not a part of the TV dinner theater community, but is also a local here, and is a rapper. And I actually met him at the movies. We were watching Kneecap, which, fun fact, we're about to go and see that again.
Yeah,
So I got to see it. AMC. I don't know if you guys know this, but AMC does this program where it's called Screen Unseen, and you buy a ticket ahead of time, and it's $5, and you have no idea what movie you're going to go see. But it's a movie that is not on wide release yet. It's going to be released in the next week or so when you view it, and you can go in there, and if it's a movie you're not into, you can just leave. Whatever, it's $5. But oftentimes, I'll go in and I'll be like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And the movie that I met Terrell at was called Kneecap. And I was so excited about it that we're actually taking a group of folks to go and watch it again tonight. Now it's playing locally, and I didn't think it was going to get to play locally, so I'm
yeah,
really excited. It's a movie about two Irish Gaelic rockers and the high school musical teacher who tied their music together and like helped them make it really big. And it's a true story about the fight for um, Irish Gaelic in a legal battle that they actually won in 2022. So it's history, but it's living history because the rappers, the group Kneecap, actually play themselves in this hilarious movie. So if you can watch it, go do. That's another way that you can fight against imperialism, colonization, and capitalism is by consuming media that um, kind of bucks all of those
yeah.
things.
Consume media that shames the colonizers.
Yes, yes.
And I'm very excited to go and see this for the first
Yeah, I'm
time.
so excited.
Yeah,
I'm so excited. So, speaking of which, it's going to be about that time almost. So, we should wrap up here. But I am so excited for what we're going to be bringing to you coming up in future episodes. We'll be releasing once a month for now, and then recap every 3 months with Ryan.
that's right.
And then if I decide that I can handle editing and like publishing on a regular cycle a little bit more often after that. And if we can make it happen, then maybe we will. Right now, we're going to stick to a once a month
Right.
release. And please definitely find us, interact with us on social media, tell your friends, tell your
Like, share,
neighbors,
comment.
and reach out to your community. Be a member of your community
An active
and
member.
an active member,
Yeah.
and really um, go out of your way to support those spaces that we were talking about. Like, let's give a shout out to
I was
subculture.
going to say it's vital for these spaces staying alive to
Mhm.
go and attend. And by the way, throw money at them.
Yes.
And subculture is one of those places. This is a venue that when I moved here in 2022, they were called Easygoing Gallery. The poetry community had just moved from a place that they love very much, that they talk about, that I didn't get to experience, a place called Constant Coffee
Mm.
that I don't know if it's still around, but we let me just say that Rebecca and Chris run that place really well, and we love them very much. Chris himself is a poet, and they're
Sometimes he'll get
working,
up and do a
yeah,
little ditty for us.
they're working very, very hard to really. They take good care of us at the poetry open mic. They do a lot of other cool, interesting events, and they're very open-minded. They do things like having DJs come over and a big dance party. They have drag queens over. It's just I've been to one of those parties. It's a lot of fun. In fact, I wore my rainbow suit to one of those.
Nice, nice.
And
Bear has some amazing outfits, y'all. Well, we'll show you
I
later.
like to be styling.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
We love you, subculture.
Yes, that subculture art gallery in West Pensacola. Look it up. Go there. Spend money, please, and thank you.
Yes, yes, they need your support.
All right, y'all have a great night.
Thank you.
This has been an episode of Bear Cave, Queer Poetics for Revolutionaries. Coming to you from the swamplands we all love, known as Pensacola, Florida, the historic lands of the Choctaw and Pensacola Muskogee Indigenous people. We honor them and this land.
We're so thrilled and we hope you enjoy it. Please make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to support us or any of the artists, organizations, or businesses mentioned in this or any episode, please check out our link tree available in the show notes. And until next time.